Hi everyone. In previous class, we started new chapter that is the function overloading and member functions. In previous class, we discussed about function overloading. So what is function overloading? How to define a function overloading? How to use the function overloading in program? All those things we have discussed. So mainly, what is function overloading? Function overloading means what? Two or more functions can have same name but differ in number of arguments or type of arguments. That is the definition of function overloading. Means when you are using more than two functions in one program, if you are using more than two functions in one program, you may use that all the functions name should be same, that all the name should be same, function name should be same, but you have to make the changes in number of arguments or types of arguments. If both the functions number of arguments are same, then you have to make changes to the types. If types are same, then you just have to do the change in number of arguments. So that is the function overloading. So next point, one more function, that is a inline function. One more function, this is called as a inline function. So see, what is inline function? Name itself implies you in line. Inline. It is in a line. It is a short function, it's a small function. This is one short function, this is one small function. See how to use it. A function call generally involves the complex process of invoking a function, passing parameters to the function, allocating storage space for local variables, thereby using extra time and memory space. It is possible to avoid these overheads of a function by using the inline function. And you are using the normal functions. In that case, what you have to do? You have to pass the parameters. You have to make the storage space for local variables, because you are passing parameters from one class to one function to another function. So if you are passing the parameters, you have to make the allocate the storage space for your local variable. Whatever local variables are there within that function, for them also you have to make the allocating the storage space. To avoid this one, to avoid this overheads, we can use the inline function. The keyword inline is used to define an inline function. Your function will be defined by using the keyword inline only. Just like as we will define the class using the class name only. Class is a keyword. Using class only, we can define the class. So like that, if you want to use the inline function, it is one function. If you want to use the inline function, you have to use the keyword as a inline. You have to use the inline as a keyword. The inline function is a short function. It is one, already told you, it is short function. It is works within one line only. See, whenever you can use the inline function, its code may be 2 to 3 lines only. Inline function code will be 2 to 3 lines, which is short function. The inline function consists of function call along with the function code, and the process is known as the expansion. What your inline function contains? It is the function call with the along with the function code and along the function code, and the process is known as expansion. Means it itself only it will be get involved or invoked. Function call themselves will be just invoked. Then see what are the characteristics of function, inline function. Inline function definition start with keyword inline. Your inline function will be start with the keyword inline only. Whenever you are defining the inline function, when you are declaring the inline function, you have to use the inline as a keyword. Using the keyword inline only, you can define the inline function. Means when you are using the inline function, your keyword must be inline. Then second characteristic is the inline function should be defined before all functions that call it. Even though before calling your main function, you have to call the inline function. Means what? You have to call or declare your inline function as a starting point only. After the header file, we have to define the inline function, or you have to declare the inline function. Means before calling all the functions, it may be a main function or any sub functions. Before calling that, you have to define the inline function. Means what? You have to define inline function first only. You have to define the inline function in first only. Means what? After the header file, you have to define your inline function. The compiler replaces the function call statement with the function code itself and then compiles the entire code. In previous programs, we may seen that the object will be called the member functions. Objects will be called the member function. It may be get data or display. So but inline function not like that. It having its own code and it will be compile itself only. It will compile itself only. No need to call the inline function. No need to call the inline function through the objects. Through the object, inline function does not require to call because it has its own code. It will execute it itself only. It will invoke itself only. The whatever statements are there in inline function, whatever code is there in inline function, that code will be entire code will be compiles itself only. No need to call them through the objects. Inline functions are not necessary to call through the object. The whatever code is there in inline function, that will be executed itself only. They run little faster than normal functions as a function calling over the saved. So see, whatever the member functions are there, that member functions we have to first write in the class. We have to declare in class, then we have to write the code for that member functions. Then we have to call them through the objects in main function. We will create the objects, and after creating the objects, we will call that member functions through the objects in normal functions. But in inline function, not like that. It is not necessary to call them through the objects. So whatever the function data is there, whatever the code is there in inline function, that will call itself only. That will call itself only. So it is little bit faster than normal functions, because in normal functions you have to first declare it, you have to write the code, you have to call them through the objects. So it is a complex process. In inline function, not like that. It does not require to call. It will be call itself only. So these are the four main characteristics. So once again I will repeat you what are the characteristics. First characteristic is inline function definition start with the keyword inline. So keep in your mind always. Inline function will start with the keyword inline. Simple thing. Always keep in mind. What you have to keep in mind? Whenever you are going to use the inline function will start with the keyword as a inline. That much. If it is necessary to write the program in inline function, then your inline function will be start with the keyword as a inline. Over. This is the first characteristic. Always you have to keep in your mind, because the question asks for 5 marks. In this chapter 3 concepts are there. Function overloading, inline function, friend function. In this chapter 3 concepts are there. Function overloading, inline function, friend function. So function overloading is over. Next, inline function, because 5 marks question asked from this chapter. 5 marks question was from this chapter. So already function overloading concept is clear. Now we are in inline function. So this is the second function, and third is the friend function. I will take it in next class. So now see what is inline function. The question may be asked for 5 marks. Define inline function, write its characteristics like that. The question may be asked for 5 marks, because one question will be definitely asked from this chapter for 5 marks. So see what are the characteristics of inline function. So first characteristic is that inline function will start with the keyword as a inline. Over. Always you have to keep in your mind, not necessary to read again and again. So this will be fit in your mind. Inline function, here you are going to use inline function. The first word will be inline, keyword will be inline. Then second, the inline function should be defined before all functions that call it. Second one is that whenever you are going to use the inline function, we have to define this inline function first only. We have to define inline function first only. Before calling other functions, we have to define it first only. Then second, the compile replace the function call statement with the function code itself. The compiler will be enter it itself only. So in this, no need to call them through the objects. the compiler replaces the function call statement with the function code itself only, then it compiles the entire code. No need to call them through the objects. The whatever the data is there, whatever the code is there, that code will be code itself only compiles it. No need to call them through the objects. This is third characteristic. And fourth one, they are a little bit faster than normal function. Over. So see what are characteristics. So first is what? Inline function will start with the keyword as a inline. Over. Second, the inline function will be declared before all functions can call it. Second is over. Third is what? The code of itself will be compiled this only. No need to call them through the objects. And fourth is that this is little bit faster than normal functions because don't need to call them through the object. It will call by itself only. Over. So these are the four characteristics of inline function. Next, see what are the advantages of inline function. So first one, inline member functions are compact function calls. Inline functions are compact functions calls. Therefore, the size of the object code is considerably reduced. Its code will be reduced because it is a small function. Within a line, you can write it within 2 to see. Always inline function code will be 2 to 3 lines. It is not having the lengthy code. This is a small function. When you are at a small function, then only you can use it. If your code is lengthier, you are not able to use the inline function. The speed of execution of program is increases. So because of it's a small code, automatically its speed will be get increased because faster it will be get executed because the speed is fast. Very efficient code can be generated. So its code will be very efficient. It is not a complex one. It is a simple method. So code will be very good. The readability of the program is increased. So if your program is simple method, it is not having the complications. So in that case, readability will be get increased automatically. Okay. Whenever your program code is not good, if it is a completed one, then readability get difficulty. So when your code is easy, method is easy, process is easy, so in that case anyone can easily read it and understand it. So that's also one advantage. Readability of the program is increases. So these are the advantages of inline function. So once again I will repeat. See what are the advantages. Inline member functions are compact function calls. First advantage is the compact function calls. Second is therefore the size of the object code is considerably reduced. Again its size is reduced because of short function. Inline function is short function. It is having small code, so its code is reduced. The speed of execution program increases because of its small code. The program will be get faster executed, so speed will be get increased. Very efficient code can be generated. So it is a small function, so automatically its code will be get generated very efficient. And last one, the readability of the program increases. So it is a simple function. It is not a complex function. So whatever the code is there, that will be in simple method. So because of that, the readability of the program will get increased. Then see, the inline function may not work sometimes for one of the following reasons. This is also for most important because when our function will not be not invoked, or when you are not able to use the inline function. You have to know this one. I already told you, inline function is a small function. Its code is very small. You can easily read it. It is a simple one. Execution is fast. That all those things, whatever I discussed, you've seen that one. But you should know that one when we can use the inline function and when you are not able to use the inline function. When it will not be work. Sometimes inline function will not be work because of some of the following reasons. So we should know which are the reasons where inline function will not be work. So first is that if inline function definition is too long or too complicated, if your program code is too long or if it is too complicated, the inline function will not be get work. So you have to keep in your mind, If your code is simple one, it is a short one, then only you can use the inline function. If your code is longer or if your code is complicated, so you have not use the inline function. Don't use to need the inline function. If your code is smaller, if your function is not complicated, then only you can use as an inline function, because inline function is having the short code and within a line. If it is a lengthier, it is not able to use an inline function. If your code is smaller one, you can able to use it. If inline function is recursive, if your function is recursive, if your inline function will not be get worked. If it is normal function, then only you can work it. If it is a recursive one, it will not be get worked. The inline function has a looping constructs. If your function is having the looping constructs, the inline function may not be get worked. So if it is having the looping statements, it will not be get worked. Then see, what are the looping statements? Last year you have studied. Already last year you have studied which are the looping statements. Okay, so if you are having the looping constructs, this will not be get worked. The inline function will not be get worked, because whenever you are using the looping construct, automatically the code will be lengthier. Whenever you are using the looping construct, in that case your code will be get lengthier. So because of that, it will not be get worked. If you are having the looping statements, it will not be get worked. If inline function has a switch or go to statements, if your program is having switch statements or go to statements, in that case also it will not be get worked, because whenever you are using the go to statements, the program will get complicated automatically. Whenever you are using the go to statement, the program will get complicated automatically. So in that case also, this will not be get worked. This will not be get worked. And already know that if you use the switch statement, then also your program code will be get lengthier. If you are using the switching statement, then also your program code becomes, because last year you have written some programs using the switch statement. Last year already you written some programs using the switch statements. Last year you seen that one. Last year you studied that one using the switch statement. Okay. So these are the 4 points are there. Whenever using these 4 steps, you are not able to use the inline function. Once again I will repeat, because the question may be asked you, when inline function may not be work, when it is not going to work. So first one, if inline function definition is too long or complicated, if your code is too long, lengthier, or if your code is complicated one, the inline function will not be get worked. If your code is lengthier or complicated, it will not be get worked. Second one, if inline function is recursive. If your inline function is recursive, it is having the recursive, then also inline function may not be get worked. If inline function has a looping construct, if your statement is having the looping construct, in that case also the function will not be get worked. And last one, function has a switch or go to statements. If you are having your program is having the switch statements or go to statements, in that case also this inline function will not be get worked, because using the switch statement your program lengthier program code becomes lengthier, and using go to statements the code will be get complicated automatically. So these are the 4 points. In that case you are not able to use the inline function. Now see one simple programming example how to use the inline function. I think you have a lab program. You run this inline function, you are having the lab program. Then see here, find the square of a number using inline function. The simple program is that finding the square of a number using inline function. In this, first is header files, iostream.h, inline int square int a. So see the characteristics. Before defining all the functions, you have to define the inline function. Before calling the other functions, you have to define the inline function. Means after a header files only, you have to use the inline function. And second characteristic is that inline function start with the keyword inline. So see here, inline int square int a. Inline is a keyword, int is the return specifier, square is the function name, int a are the arguments. So opening press means inline function is open, return a into a. We are going to find the square of a number. Means a into a, bracket complete, closing press. Means inline function is just closed. Inline function just closed. And void main, opening press means main function is open, int x, y. We have taken two variables, one is a x and second is a y. Then x is equal to square 5. Square means your function name, inline function name, square into bracket 5. So it is not, inline function is not necessary to call them through the objects. It will invoke automatically. It will invoke, it will, this call will be compile itself only. The inline function call will be compile itself only. Okay. When you use the x is equal to square of 5, the automatically it will find the square of 5. 5 is square. Automatically it will invoke. How? The file will be sent to the inline function. This file will be sent to the inline function as the int a. Then next line return a into a. Means 5 into 5, 25. It will get returned automatically. Then see out square of 5 is equal to x. The value will be stored in the x. So just you have to declare x. So x now contains 25. This is for one value. Second value again y is equal to square of 10. So when you will give here 10 square of 10, the 10 will be transferred to the inline function int a means now 10. 10 into 10, it becomes 100. Then that will stored in the y. Then see out square of 10 is equal to y. So y is now having the 100. That will display automatically. Get ch closing press. Your function is closed. So now see output square of 5, 25, square of 10, 100. So this is called as a inline function. This is called as a inline function. Using inline function, we can call the parameters to the code only, not necessary to use the objects. It is not necessary to use the class also. In this program, we are not using the class and not using the objects. Okay. So this is what one simple program. Then see the inline function code, how it is. It is only one line function. Return a into a or. So that's why your inline function will work when its code is smaller one. Got it? It is not complicated one. See the code of the inline function is very simple. So this is what inline function we can use it. This is the inline function you can use it. So today we discussed about inline function. Please, I will tell you, watch all the videos carefully. If you are having any doubts, ask free to call me or message me. Got it? Once your time is over, you are not able to read it again. Okay? Thank you.